Okay, hello, storytellers. It's Storytelling Ron. I'm going to do it this way. The slave pits. What is it? Slave pits of the Undercity. This is actually one of my favorite. When I was a kid, I remember looking at this, going, "Oh, the big giant ant things, the dungeon, the mine." I was just so like, "Oh." And I did this whole series, by the way, the B's to the A's to the then I went into the, what is it? The B's, A's. Then it went on to the G's, the Giant series. Then the D, the descent into the. I did the whole thing, and then we went to Q1, I think, with the Quilloth, and I finished that in college or post college. That was crazy. Anyway, okay, so how can you make this one? Is so easy to turn into like a For the Lord RPG. I mean, this is slavers in some remote town somewhere on the coast or something. Probably on the African coast because they went enslaved into the Mediterranean, or in Sicily, or some of the Greek islands. You could have like a freaky deaky slaver city that's raiding, and the churches want you to go and discover what's going on. Your as pirate privateers or whatever, and trying to stop this. And they believe that there's a pagan religion behind it that's made them all fanatical. So see right there, boom, For the Lord RPG adventure, crazy. Sea adventure, and I probably should do an add-on with ship pirate stuff, which I will. I definitely want to do one where you do ship combat and adventures, and it's going to be similar, very similar. And I've done it already because of the post-apocalyptic setting and the Christians in Space one, and it's fun. It's fabulous. I just haven't done it in terms of pirating in the Dark Ages, but I will hopefully get that done. Get on it. But let me just go through this one to show you how you can just do this one easily, very easily. So it basically consists of a temple. You start with this ruined temple, and then it goes down underneath to the slave pits where the slaves are being taken, and then they go somewhere. On the next module, they take them somewhere else. So it's just like you go to there's slave raiding going on the coast or whatever, and then finally the people, the towns or whatever, the kings or dukes get together and then hire privateers to go and figure out what's going on and stop this slavery that's been going on for too long. And in this thing, you basically start off just entering the temple, and without even going through the town. Even though they describe the town, so you basically just enter here and go through here and then start exploring and doing the dungeon thing. And so either way, you could easily have all these slave raiders, and they're all freaky deaky, and here is half orcs, goblins, orcs, but that's so what? As human, humans are far worse, right? We're evil, quite evil in and of ourselves. We don't need goblins or humanoids to do evil and be scary. So you could easily have that, and every sort of version of humanoid in here can be a human version, whether it's big and broody, or small and wiry and freaky deaky, or dark and shadowy. Just different kinds of humans. There's so also, and then you have so just one example here in a collapsed guard room, they have 8 ghouls. Okay, so it could be just 8 murderers, that are hiding there and doing their thing, and they'll have some sort of poison. So the ghouls here do like paralyzing, right, or whatever. You could have them have a poison. They can have a poison or something that maybe they use claws. They have some sort of, the pagans will make sort of weapons out of animal fangs or teeth or claws, and they're like living crazy hermit type, fanaticals. So you can easily do that, and that's what I have in some of the stats. I'm just kind of looking through real quick. There's like a one about a crazy plant, which you can have some sort of scary poisonous plant that's in there that does something, exudes some sort of poison. And of course, eventually you get to the giant ants, right? The aspids or whatever. And that, to me, giant ants. I don't mind. Personally, I'm going to do giant insects in these. I have giant spiders already, so I don't have a problem with doing giant ants for me. So that's because they haven't found giant ants in the fossil record, but they found a 9-foot centipede and a 9-foot scorpion, water scorpion looking thing, and another one too that was a shrimp squid version, giant squid shrimp squid version. So in here they have 2 basilisks in the garden area, but you could just have some crazy lizards, and then you can have some statues in there that sort of make them feel like there is some sort of stone turning thing in there. Just so everyone thinks it's stone turning, these lizards, and the way they look and creepy and they're camouflaged. And I would give them, yeah, like sort of a very camouflaged look in there. So they have a sneak attack and they just sit there and they look like a statue themselves, kind of thing. So they're freaky deaky. There's a cemetery with a bunch of crazy stuff. That's fine. So the false slavers' lair is where the bunch of half orcs pretend to be slaves. That's, obviously they can do that, where a bunch of, slavers pretend to be slaves, and there's a whole con here where they try to determine if you're, really a slaver or you're trying to liberate. And then there's a fight if they deem you not really a true slaver. There's some harpies in here. Okay, I don't have any replacement for harpies, women and birds. Just use them. No. You could have some crazy birds in there, some scary, freaky deaky, prehistoric birds that flying around and terrorize everybody, and they have some sort of scream that is actually stunning. Like, they scream, screech out something that actually can stun you. So that's a resist right there. See? Yeah. So most of these are half orcs and half orcs and orcs and half orcs, and so it's not a big deal to throw that to replace everything in there with that. And giant, and of course at the bottom here is where they have these cool looking aspids while they're wielding weapons. But I would just have some giant scary ants and with the mandibles and warrior ones that are a little slightly larger, and they got to eradicate them. And I would say that the slavers down there use some kind of salve or something so that they're immune, or so that the ants think that they're just part of the tribe, part of the nest, and that's what's giving them these extra powers, whatever. Some witches concocted a salve that they put on themselves as some sort of, and they look dark, or the salve is black, oily something, and it makes them look like the ants or smell like the ants or something. So you can do something freaky deaky like that, okay? So I'm just giving you like how the options are. You're not limited with this. I mean, the thing about this giant statue, and if you touch it or try to open the false door that falls down with a giant sword, that's totally fine. Works just fine. And then of course they have so they have a 6th level cleric here, a woman that's the leader of this temple and slavers or whatever. And she's going to do silence, prayer, resist fire, protection from good. So, which she's going to plan on doing, to whatever. So I can't really do a silence spell, but she could do some sort of loud bell or humming device that she knows preachers can preach, and that diffuses it. The preacher can't. No one can hear what he's saying. See? Prayer, obviously she can, we all will fight and destroy these Christians, like whatever. So there's that. Resist fire, not whatever. She could just have some sort of resist fire thing, but obviously they're not gonna have fireball for the most part. And there's another thing. One of the guys in my players was using his oil and fire a lot, the cleric, and I'm like, this guy's using it a lot. It's almost like he's doing a fireball thing too much. So I'm gonna at some point have a clergy say to him, do you have more faith in oil and fire than you do in God? I'm going to get him to back on track with the faith. And I'm not against him using the fire stuff if he wants to, but the clergy is going to frown upon that, because you should have your faith, focus on your faith, not on fire. Well, fire would be there. But I do have those sort of rules and things that you could use fire, but I would prefer a Magi from the Far East, which is a character I'm going to bring up soon, that has that ability to understand Greek fire and black powder and using oil and fire. So they prep, and that's their sign. They're not clergy, right? So they're not there to preach, but they're there because they've converted to Christianity, and that's true in history. There's been those types, and so, but they still want to use their, God, science, natural laws stuff to help with the church. Anyway, so she, so all these things that she does, you can kind of relate or correlate to real stuff in a sense, and be creative about it. And again, like I said in the other one about why no monsters, I just did a video, is because I want us to relate to the realities of that pagans are just doing a con. They don't have fantastical monsters. They try to make monsters fantastical. They try to make their cult warriors fantastical, but they're not truly fantastical. But they do have, and they always do have an unfair advantage because of the drugs or the lies that she's instilled upon them to go crazy and be fanatical, and that sort of thing. Which is causing a problem because it's slaving all the people in the area. And the Dukes finally said, you know what, this is not good for us. Guess we'll get some Christians in to help us. So then there's a whole section here on the egg or the ant area, and then of course we go right back to orcs and slave pits. And obviously they're going to have, and then of course the main villain is a human, so no problem there. And of course, there's a witch doctor, so you know they could do creepy stuff. Okay, and that's it. That's a pretty short. So I'm going through without even you seeing it, but it's a very short module. I loved it when I was a kid, and you know, easily convertible to a fourth load RPG and fun and sort of the same creepy deepy stuff. And I love correlating it, connecting it to history or mythology that we're again erasing because of these pagan RPGs today that are just making everything fantastical, and thusly we accept the fantastical, whereas we need to teach our kids and players and ourselves that paganism is all about delusion, illusion, the chicanery and grift of faking creatures and faking fantastical to get people to fear them and submit to them. So that's why the slavers have become so powerful. They gotten everyone else in the area to fear them. But in truth, they're either lost souls or souls in need of salvation. And every person in there that they convert can help them reduce the threat of the further along kind of thing. But most of them should be kind of very evil and will die for the stupid evilness of slavery. Okay, so that's it. My little video on slave pits of the Undercity. How you can convert this or use this as a influence for your own fourth load RPG that's historical and Dark Ages and works just fine for me. And remember, in the game of life, roll holy dice.